Welcome back to the biggest channel on YouTube. Now, as we're getting close to Comicon and also the unannounced PlayStation showcase, which is set to happen sometime at the end of the year, we have a ton of news to uncover, especially when it comes to Marvel Spider-Man 2's DLC, Wolverine, and also the unannounced Venom game. Now, Insomniac has also tweeted about Wolverine, and it seems like Wolverine could be having a bit of a shake-up because the narrative director just left the studio, which I made a video about a few days ago. And in this video, we're going to talk about everything that has happened within Insomniac games for the past few months, including the ones that escaped your radar. So before we get into the video, I want to introduce two guests that are going to be joining us today. We have superhero related and also Alex from Podcast Now. Make sure to go check out the channel as these guys drop amazing content. I'm also gonna have a timestamps below so you can choose whatever topic interests you the most. For example, the Venom's games, Antagonist, a Wolverine potential release date, and the future project at Insomniac Games, which could be coming in the next foreseeable future. And with that being said, if you did like the video, smash the like button, let me know down in the comment section below what you think. And with that being said, let's dive straight into the video.
Because of, you know, they're too busy working on Wolverine. So if they're working on Wolverine, they're not working on Venom. At least not yet.
Why do you think getting a Venom game is realistic? Because obviously, check this out. So we've been rumored about, you know, having a Carnage DLC. But then if we have a Venom game coming out, who's going to be the antagonist for Venom? Does that insinuate that there is no Carnage DLC and it's just Beetle? Because if we're going to have Carnage as a DLC, then who's Venom going to be fighting against? Because it's a Venom game, so he's going to be somewhat kind of the hero.
Right.
So we'll be playing in his perspective and why he's doing such things. So yeah.
Well, my controversial thought is there is no DLC for Spider-Man 2. and Carnage would just be into Venom. I think
that's wild.
Yeah, that I don't know if I want that. I just think that makes the most sense. I think, you know, it's not the same as 2018 anymore with, you know, how they did those 3 episodes, but at the same time, it's almost a year, and I just don't see them doing like I just said, right? Like I do believe them when I don't think we'd ever get Sunset Overdrive or whatever, but anytime they're asked Wolverine, and it's not like they would say they're doing Spider-Man DLC, but I just think they're being honest. You know, they're being honest without, you know, like they would never say it. But I think they are literally working on Wolverine. I don't think there's anybody working on Spider-Man. I think the multiplayer game that was, you know, and I watched your guys' video, which I thought was very well done on, and that's a game I want. That's
a game I want, to be honest.
Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt that they took that away from us. But I think that was the pseudo, you know, Spider-Man DLC, because it kind of would have been, right? Like it was very much borrowing pretty much every asset you could imagine from the base game. So I think that was kind of the plan, was to do like a spin-off game at the same time. And it would be, you know, I forget the game's name, but, you know, it would be that multiplayer game. And that would be the quote-unquote DLC. But it would be like a live service thing. So that's what I think it was. And then they shut that down. So I just, so my opinion is we just flat out don't get Spider-Man 2 DLC.
Okay, because I can see the comment section rolling now. You know, obviously people are going to be like, then what are the leaked files for? Because, you know, when the update came out from, you know, for Spider-Man 2, there were like files with Beetle, you know, the Beetle boss fights, you know.
And I didn't look too deep into that, but I did see I only saw one post on it. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. I saw one post that talked about if you go deeper into those files, it was basically all empty. It was just the name.
Those empty files. That's what I was saying. I was saying it. I
so
literally
almost
said
like
it in my
a
last video.
placeholder title. It was, you know, like, you know, very early. Like maybe, you know, at some point they probably pitched that, right? That's something they wanted to do. But I think, and again, I only saw one person say that, but there was nothing in those files. It was just the name of them that tipped people off. But there was, you know, I mean, there was no substance to it. So that's something to keep in mind.
What's a take on a superhero related?
Man, if I'm being honest, I'm gonna go back to being like the optimistic, like I said, Spider-Man.
We need
I'm not really an expertise, but I'm gonna be the optimistic. You know, say hypothetically speaking, I know people are thinking back, maybe like Alex said, Marvel Spider-Man 2018 DLC was already talked about before the game was even already out, right? So DLC was already done. So if I'm taking into consideration, we do get Marvel Spider-Man DLC. Now, what I don't think is possible is that we get 3 antagonists. I don't think they're going to put Spider-Verse, Anomaly. They're not going to Carnage and the Beetle in that one DLC. They're not going to do 3 main antagonists. That's something I feel like is going to be for their own storyline. Like if the Carnage things happen, it might happen for a little bit, and then it's like, well, that's Venom's thing right there. We're not going to mess with that. If we're going to make a standalone Venom game, Venom needs main antagonist. Who better else to fight other than Carnage himself? It's no point of having, right? Let's just say, take into consideration, why would they have Beetle, Carnage, and then they have the Spider-Verse Anomaly? That's too much to cram in DLC. Marvel Spider-Man 2018, we know that Miles Morales was original, but they expanded story to give him his own standalone game. The PlayStation 5 was to be released. Now, this is just like I said, I think we're going to get DLC. It might not be this year. It might be announced at Comicon, maybe. You know, it could be announced at the State of Play at the end of this year, but I think deals going to happen for this game, especially with Insomniac's 70 copy, and they actually exceed that with 11, and that's not even with the game being ported over to the PC yet. So what do I really know? That's just what I think. I think DLC still coming, and that's just me.
Because
we need an optimist. We need one.
Yeah, definitely need one. Trust me, the whole community is gonna go crazy for this. Because if you do remember from the tweet that Insomniac did, I think one of the fans did ask them, when are we getting Sunset Overdrive, right? They could have said, you know, we're working on Spider-Man 2 DLC. They could have said anything else, but they went on saying we're all hands on deck on Wolverine. Like, they're trying to send a signal out, like, in case you're waiting for Spider-Man 2 DLC and etc., we are working on Wolverine instead. You know, it's all about money and how much they could make from the game, because I don't see them putting an extra 100 or 200 million towards making a DLC for a game that obviously they have to pay the rights fee to Disney, which is probably about 20%. And you might think 20% is small money. That's a lot of money there. Do you know what I mean? So, and Spider-Man 2 is probably sold about 11 million copies now. That's about, I'm estimating, in the hundreds of millions to a billion. And so the profit is probably around the 300 million profit, because the game did cost about 200 million to make, extra 100 million for marketing. So we're looking towards the 300 plus the 400 million for a game, and games are expensive nowadays. And I don't know, so it's just one of those things. I think the fan base are looking back to what happened in 2018, and they're using it as an example, as a blueprint toward, you know, to see what could happen in Marvel Spider-Man 2. I will be honest with you, I want to see the DLC, but I'm trying to be realistic, right? So we've had the hackers, you know, they've done what they've done. They've leaked a bunch of, you know, files and, you know, games that we could be seeing in the future. But we've not seen any hints towards Spider-Man 2 DLC. Like, you would think that's probably one of the first things they would get, but they got their hands on Wolverine, they got their hands on, you know, the Spider-Verse cancelled game. They even got their hands on, like, you know, the back end build of Marvel Spider-Man 3. It's not an actual game. It's a back-end build of the game. They've got the games, you know, the footage, I would say, or maybe like, you know, the code, the source code, and they've leaked that. And people who had access to it, who can, you know, obviously, you know, change the source code, make it look, you know, towards to like, you know, modern game or so. They've been able to mod the game, and you can actually watch the footage of it on YouTube right now. It's a back-end version of Marvel Spider-Man 3. So they've got Marvel Spider-Man 3, the Spider-Verse, Wolverine, and no Spider-Man 2 DLC.
Yeah, but I think Icky Island is the new one, I think, to measure games on now for like PlayStation ecosystem and stuff. And that's why I think time is running out. You know, it's ran out, it's whatever, because, you know, you look at Icky Island, it came out a year and a month after. Yeah, you know,
God of War as well. God of War 2. That took like a year for the DLC to come out.
Yeah, and even Valhalla, and that was a free thing, and that one I guess maybe would make the point, right? For like that one, I guess would lean more towards, okay, it's possible something could happen for Spider-Man 2. I think the Icky Island one is more of a negative, where if you look at that, and to be fair, Icky Island is an actual expansion. You know, Valhalla is a complete side thing that they just got to have fun with, and Spider-Man 2 DLC would be more like Icky Island than it would Valhalla, and that's just why I don't. And like you said, the tweet, the all hands on deck, that quote, that's what I think they're telling the truth on, right? Because actually, I mean, and even in a sense, they're also lying, because we know there's like 5 of them that are working on Ratchet and Clank in 20 years from now, right? Like we know that. So technically that's not true, but it's mainly true. And that's the part I like latch onto, where I think they're about as genuine as they can be with that part, where literally everybody's busy, and they're not busy to not make Sunset Overdrive. They're busy to not make Spider-Man 2 deals, you know?
Yeah. Do you have anything to
but
say?
I think if they were going to not make it, they would have said, you know, like even at the showcase that they had in a while back, when we asked like, "Hey, is Eddie Brock on Venom?" They straight out said no. You know what I mean? So I think if they were not making the DLC, they would say like, "Hey, it's canceled." I think they got a lot riding on this DLC. Like if it does come, right, I don't, like I just said, I don't think people. It might just be Beetle DLC that might last maybe 4 or 5 hours. You get a couple side missions, maybe bring back Screwball, you know, something like that. And that's just me, Alex. That's just what I believe. If they weren't coming out with DLC, it's just best to say no. Like if when they were asked, is Venom, it's Venom's going to be in the game. You know, they hinted towards, you know, not Venom being playable, but it's kind of like some of those, you know, remarks. It's like, well, if you know, right, kind of thing. But when they asked, is Eddie Brock on Venom? They flat out said no. That's not. He's not going. So if they're asking about DLC and they say is DLC coming, they're not saying no. They're just not saying anything. They're not being responsive. And that's one of the things I talked to Sluice about, right? If you're in the business like Insomniac Game, if DLC is not going to come, you could say no, right? You could say yes, but sometimes in business, it's just kind of best keep your mouth closed. You know what I mean, Alex? So that's just one of the things that I feel like I think it's coming. It won't be as big as the first one with the 3. It could be 3 segments, but I think like in the 3 segments of Marvel Spider-Man 2 DLC, it was Hammerhead was the main antagonist out of all 3 segments. That's the thing. It wasn't like it was Hammerhead and then they brought in, you know, Rhino escaped from the raft again, and we brought him back. The main antagonist was Hammerhead out of all 3 segments. You know, and you got Black Cat in there, you had Spider-Man, you had the dialogue with Miles Morales after he got his powers and trained him to swing and stuff like that. So that's just me. If DLC is not coming, I don't see the reason why Insomniac Games would not just say no, like they did with if Eddie Brock want to be Venom. Just say no. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think they're just letting the fans try to decide. That way, if it doesn't, they're not in the wrong saying, "Oh, DLC is coming," and then it doesn't, or they're not saying that, "Oh, we're going to get DLC," and then they surprise everybody. You know what I mean? I think it's tricky. It's the last minute kind of thing. They're going to surprise everybody. So many videos are up now. DLC's not happening. It's kind of like with DLC not happening. It's kind of like a 60-40. They believe that DLC.
Like, well, hold on. 40% that it's not happening, or 40% that's happening.
60% believe that it's not going to happen. 40% believe that it isn't.
I think that's.
I'm a part of that 40.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a 64. I think it's more people that say it's not than it is, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we say.
Well, there's one thing I actually want to highlight. It's something I've seen people talk about. So they brought to my attention. I did kind of know about this, but so in the comment section said, you do know Insomniac has 2 teams. Like they have a team separate working on Wolverine, and they have another team working on Spider-Man. How do you think this plays in? Because that's definitely the case. That's how it's been. Because when they were working on Spider-Man 2, there was a different team working on Wolverine. Yeah. But do you think it's still that way, or have they just come together now to just have all hands on deck for Wolverine?
Yeah. I think it's more, and I always try to make it less complicated to say things like that, but I think as time has gone on, what you kind of see, and this is not even just like me speculating, you look on Twitter, when somebody ended, you saw, right, people that finished work on Spider-Man, next day they're working on Wolverine. So I think generally in these studios, there is a split, and there's, 2-3 different teams, whatever, but people get borrowed and taken over, right, if they need them. So I think Wolverine for a while had less people than Spider-Man. Like it wasn't like the team was split in half or anything. I think Wolverine had a group, and then they started to borrow more and more and more people, right? When Spider-Man ends, they come over and they work on. I don't love that idea, by the way. I think you literally should just create 2 entirely different teams inside Insomniac. I think that'd be better, but I don't think that's how it is. And what makes the point is because there's like 4 artists working on Ratchet and Clank right now. So that's not
only 4.
What I mean? Well, that leak was like, there was a number. It's like under 5 or something.
Just 4 people. Wow.
Yeah, there's a couple people inside Insomniac that are doing basically like prototypes, like designs for Ratchet. So like that, and that happens all the time. There's people that they get months sometimes to just experiment and do, not just Insomniac, any studio, right? Sometimes if there's dead time between projects, people can just create new systems or create sketches, or, whatever they want. Like Last of Us 2 did that with Ellie, even by that tree. That was the sketch, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think is. So yeah, I don't think it's as simple as, because it is true. I think there's a team that's working on Wolverine. There's a team that's working on Venom. The Venom team is probably smaller. There's a small team working on, I don't want to, a certain game in 2030 that's like a group of superheroes, let's say. There's a Ratchet and Clank team. Like it's messier than just that. So that's what I think it's like. And
Ratchet and Clank is a very underrated game. I'm gonna be honest with you. Rift Apart was really good. Rift Apart was really good. I would like to see more Ratchet and Clank, to be honest. So what games are you guys excited for though from all the list? I would like to see a Venom game. I would like to see the DLC though first. But if that's not coming, I'm really fine with it. To be honest, I'm being so realistic right now. So I would like to see a Venom game. I would like to see Wolverine, coming on the PlayStation. I think it's a showcase or state of play coming up this fall.
Hopefully a showcase.
Hopefully it is a showcase.
Yes.
Not just
I swear to God, it's not.
Well, if they're gonna do this, right, I would actually be excited to see Wolverine making it to the big screen, because if that shows up, then that kind of insinuates we're gonna probably get a game 2025, fall 2025, 2026.
Yeah,
if they're gonna stretch it. Do you know what I mean?
If me personally, I think with everything that happened with Wolverine, towards the concept art that's out there, you can actually see this dude literally like wall running and climbing, jumping, sprinting, all of that, those things. I think 2026, early 2026. So maybe the DLC doesn't come 2024. They got DLC coming out 2025 to kind of like hold the fans over, on top of games like Rise of Hydra. That's I'm actually super excited for that. We have the closed beta for Marvel Rivals, which that game's coming out 2025 as well. So I think 2025 for gamers who in the superhero genre, like I know Alex, your channel literally talks about everything, which I love. Literally. You and Degenerate J, man, you guys are amazing. If I'm being honest, I think that 2025 is that year superhero game. We got EA's Iron Man game coming out. That's probably my second best. If I got a number one, I'm gonna have to go Rise of Hydra, Marvel's Rise of Hydra. I'm excited for that. So because you from what it's looking like now, trailer wise, and hopefully, like Alex said, it is a showcase, so we can see more and more games instead of a state of play, right? If we get to see, we could potentially see gameplay for that. And what it's looking like, you get 4 playable characters. You get Black Panther, Captain America, you get one of the soldiers with Captain America that's in the Civil War with and during that time frame, right? And then you get a Wakandian spy that's actually out in Paris. I think that's gonna, if they do that right, and obviously no live service. If I pray to God it's not live service. I think it's not. I don't think I heard anything of live service in that at all. If it's not live service, it's potentially could be a good game on top of EA's Iron Man next. If Wolverine comes out 2025, that's fine. That'll be good for everybody, because it'll be like, well, Insomniac basically beat the hackers, even though they leaked everything, right? So that's just me. That's my very first game. I got Rise of Hydra, EA's Iron Man. Marvel's Rival, it's good, but I'm not real big on the live service part of it. Not big on superhero multiplayer live service game. If you're gonna have microtransactions in it, make it like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Origins Online was great, Alex. It was. Origins Online was actually done phenomenal. If you're gonna do something like that, you got to keep live service to a minimum. Other than that, no Suicide Squad, microtransactions, battle passes. No,
it's a discussion for a different day. But the early 2010s and late 2000s, when they just felt inclined to put multiplayer in every game known to man, was actually good looking back. Like Assassin's Creed, Dead Space,
Assassin's Creed multiplayer?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed, what? Brotherhood?
Brotherhood,
Brotherhood. Dead Space, I love Dead Space, where you play as both sides. That was like low key, like a really good era that I wish we could get back to instead of live service.
I don't know about that, but to be honest, I think I'm ready to bet on this, that Wolverine is quite close than people think. The reason why I'm saying so is because obviously we have the narrative director. She just left the studio, and obviously they do work on contracts, right? So if she's left the studio, it means she has fulfilled what her contract says. Like when you get hired for a job, you get hired for a certain amount of time, and when it comes to video game development, the first thing that gets laid is the storyline. Okay, so from the story, then they can build up for the character, how the character is going to be played, and all that kind of stuff. So the story is the first thing they actually get sorted out. So if she's leaving, it does insinuate that parts of the story has already been done, and so the game is probably further than we actually think. It's something happened to GTA 6 when the game got leaked. The hackers took like an early footage of the game, so they took like an early build of the game and they leaked that. So it's probably the same thing with Wolverine, where we're looking at maybe like a year-old build of the game. So they probably are way into the game right now. Like they've rendered the whole environment, the whole character and everything should probably be, I would say there's a playable version of it right now without all the bugs and all the stuff you see in the leaked versions. There's a playable version of it probably going through QA testing right now, and who knows, fingers crossed, during the showcase we might get more information.
You got to think about one other potentially controversial thing is that Sony clearly likes to rush things, at least at times. I believe 1,000% they rushed Spider-Man 2. So where I'm going with it is I think PlayStation wants Wolverine next fall. Does Insomniac want it next fall? No, they probably want it, like you said.
No, that's what I've been saying. Yes,
Insomniac probably wants it 2026, first half of 26.
Yes,
exactly.
Because Sony's looking at their pockets, bro. They're looking at how much they want.
They see the fall.
They rather invest in a new game.
That. And next fall they only have Death Stranding 2 in the fall, and that's not. It is a big game, but don't let that trick you. Like Death Stranding 1 did well for 1 month, and then it kind of died after that. So
Death Stranding is not a good game. Sorry for anyone who's
I disagree. But
I don't know. It's basically a walking simulator, bro. Like
but I mean, but you look at it,
delivering stuff.
But you look at it, and it's sold. It sold, I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think Death Stranding got like 5 or 6 million in all, and it got I think 4 million in the first month. So it died. So I mean, Death Stranding 2 coming out next fall, it'll be big for a month and then die. Sony is looking around, I imagine, and saying, if you're even remotely close for Wolverine, we need that out next fall. And that's why I think, against their better wishes, I think you actually could very well see Wolverine next November.
Yeah, I'm really off for that one. I'm really off for that one. Hideo Kojima, he's a great guy. I'm just gonna take back what I said. He's a great guy. I like his, the way he puts his games all together. He's really, really, very, very talented. But he wasn't cooking on that one. I prefer, Metal Gear Solid. Those were the times when Hideo was literally like the beast in the gaming industry. But anyways, yeah,
we should have a lot of, the next couple of years. There's like you said, Marvel, Rise of Hydra, Iron Man eventually in 20 years when that comes out. Like these are
20 years.
Yeah. But Iron Man I think can be a legitimately, amazing.
I think an Iron Man game would be really good. There's a lot you can do with it. With the parts, you can customization. And different missiles or whatever.
The way I think they should go about the open world thing, I don't think it should be strictly like Marvel's Avengers. It wasn't really open world. It's more like a platform kind of game. It gave you that option to like move around essentially, but it wasn't. When I think of open world, obviously you want to think about Arkham Knight, Marvel Spider-Man games like that. But I don't. EA is going to be that. I think EA is going to be more open world, kind of like a Jedi Survivor, guys.
No. Hold on. If they're gonna make an Iron Man game, it has to be open world. When it comes to Black Panther, I can see it being like a God of War type of semi-linear type of game. Do you know what I mean? But if they're gonna make an Iron Man game, it has to be open world because this guy's got literally,
I think something like Anthem. I think something like Anthem.
Something like that's it.
It will be contained. I feel like it'll be contained because you look at their track record, and although they're masters of like just switching, right? Star Wars Squadrons, Dead Space, but you look at both of them, and Squadrons is contained, and Dead Space no loading screens, so you can go through the whole Ishimura, right? But it's kind of open, it like in a way, right? It kind of is open, but it's also not. So Iron Man, I feel like, will be one step more open than the ship in Dead Space, but you're not going to get Witcher 3 or Horizon. Like, I don't think it'll be that.
Oh, that's a bum.
That's just my belief. I just don't feel that makes sense, like you said, for Iron, because you want
sense.
You want
Iron Man, Spider-Man flying around, swinging around.
But you think about where they've come from. I truly don't think you can go from Dead Space to Witcher 3. Like, I just don't see how that happens.
Yeah, but like you said, they've done Anthem. Anthem's kind of
I mentioned Anthem as Anthem was BioWare. Anthem was BioWare.
That's true. BioWare.
I mentioned Anthem because that's
BioWare is
somewhat secluded, but it's also kind of open. Like Anthem is not, I would call, open world, but it lets you fly, and they also nailed the flying.
Is BioWare not on the EA?
They what?
Is BioWare not?
BioWare is with EA. That's true.
That's what I'm saying. So basically, they have it. They have the blueprint. Like, just take Anthem and give us Iron Man.
Yeah,
but
that's true. They can, BioWare can give notes.
That's it.
They can give notes to them and see what motive can. I just don't, making. You look at Hogwarts Legacy, like you got to think about where the studio came from. They can pivot fast, but they normally don't go. You look at Hogwarts Legacy, actually, that's open world, but is it really? Like it's kind of big, but it's not. But also look at where they came from. So you just got to.
Exactly.
I keep that in mind where it's like they'll go bigger than Dead Space, but they can only go so far unless they fire everybody and hire just like open world experts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be like an entire New York you get to fly around as Iron Man. I don't think it'll happen at all. I think
shocked.
It's going to be that's what I'm saying. Jedi Survivor, like you said, Hogwarts Legacy, it's open world, but like you said, it's not. You know what I mean? So it's around that spectrum of open world. It's not going to be you can swing from this part of Manhattan to somewhere else. It's not going to be anything like that at all. I think it's open world, not as platform based the Marvel's Avengers game was. And it's just going to be just like that. So I don't. That's just me, man. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be real hard for them to pull that off, especially with Iron Man and stuff like that. The flight system is really what's going to make or break the game. The combat, it's not really too big of a deal, because that's not nothing that you can really like stress over as implementing over from different games. Even like if you take some of the moves from Marvel's Avengers, right? That's not really that big of a deal. What's going to make or break the game is the flight system, flight patterns, how fast and velocity you can go. You get upgrades to like the Mark V suits, you know what I mean? Like those are things like that I feel like are going to make the differentials to EA's Iron Man game is the flight.
I think it could be one of the better Marvel games. Like when all's said and done, 5 years looking back, I think Iron Man could be like a top 2 or top 3. Though.
Don't really have my trust in EA, but
I don't have it in EA, but I do have it in Motive. Like the actual, just like and you look like Amy Hennig has my full trust because of Uncharted, but it's also we haven't seen that game. You see them acting. We haven't seen gameplay, so that
seen gameplay,
yeah. So that doesn't have to go well. The EA Black Panther game kind of scares me. Spider-Man 3, like Spider-Man 2, I think was a drop in some ways versus 1, so there's no guarantee for that. Venom might not, it might be an 8 to 10 hour thing. I think at the end of the, not to say that's bad, by the way, but I think when all's said and done, Iron Man, they all have risks. They all could be good or bad, but I think Iron Man absolutely could be one of the better ones.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's one just because it's the first.
With the first ones to ever come out. Well, I think they have a lot they can take from Anthem, from Marvel's Avengers as well. I mean, in terms of the mistakes they made and try to adjust it from there. So fingers crossed.
A lot of what not.
Yeah, it doesn't blow out of water, to be honest. Yeah, there's quite a lot they can do. They can make it work. They can make it work. But anyways.
And that's all I have for you today, guys. If you liked the video, smash the like button. If you didn't, turn it into a dislike. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think. And with that being said, I'm going to catch you guys on my next one. Skadoosh.